We were interested in looking at what are those predictors of absenteeism. Why is it that in some units within an organization there is rampant absenteeism? And now we know that sometimes people get sick and there is absolutely legitimate uses of sick leave. But in a lot of cases it's an indicator of culture. It's an indicator of what's going on underneath the surface. And what we found is that two types of job attitudes were very predictive of how much absenteeism was occurring within each particular unit. What was unique about our study is that we were looking at job satisfaction of the aggregate of all employees within a unit, and we were looking at how that affected organizational outcomes or unit level outcomes, and we were looking at it over time. So what we were doing is we were modeling the growth trajectories of the various units to say, well, some it kept going up over the whole study time period, and some it went down. And in essence, we found what you would expect. Job satisfaction leads to lower absenteeism. We also found something interesting in that organizational commitment, which is a separate type of job attitude, had independent effects with absenteeism. So you can't just look at job satisfaction and say, are you satisfied with your job, as being a predictor of whether or not people will show up. You also need to look at the extent to which people are committed to the organization that they're working for. And these two attitudes are not the same thing. If you have no commitment to the organization, your level of satisfaction doesn't matter. You're just not going to show up to work. If you have a high level of commitment to the organization, but a low level of satisfaction, you're still actually going to be less prone to showing up to work. The case where you really see the effect is when people are both committed to the organization and then job satisfaction has a large effect. So job satisfaction comes into play more when people are at first committed to the organization. It's easy to think about these two variables as being the same thing, and we really found that they're distinct, and they operated in this interactive fashion that would obscure the results if you only look at one of the variables at a time. I think what it does is actually take these collective attitude variables and says, look, this is actually related to people whether or not they show up to work. And so there are some management kinds of implications for applying this. And the one is that you need to look at sick leave as a barometer and as a leading indicator of how well a unit is functioning.